Welcome to what is hopefully a heartwarming collection of even more stories and songs for Christmas. This year, I was inspired by a man whose life and spirit resonate as strongly as the season itself, my grandfather, Red Lindsey. Red, a master of stringed instruments and poignant stories, alongside my inimitable grandmother, Essie, shaped a home full of love, laughter, music, and all things Christmas for me and my sisters following a profound family loss. Red's life, steeped in the rich traditions of bluegrass, country, and gospel music, echoes through this Christmas collection. Each story and song aims to intertwine words, regular words and holy words, with the hearty chords and memorable melodies that embody the essence of the holiday. From uproarious accounts of Red's frugal antics to a magical narrative based on Red's uncanny ability to mend the irreparable, this collection aims to capture the full emotional spectrum associated with this season. As you delve into even more stories and songs for Christmas, you might encounter laughter and tears. I know I experienced both while putting this together. That's fitting, I suppose, since Christmas is so often happy and sad all at once. I think I'm so intrigued by Christmas because of its unique ability to draw us back into both ancient times and current trends, all the while leaving us longing for a liberated future. This year's Christmas project is a celebration of simple joys, the strength of family bonds, and the hope and renewal that reflection on the birth of Christ brings each year. In all this, I hope to honor Red's legacy, his music, his steadfastness, his laughter, and his indelible mark on my life. But this collection is more than a tribute. It's an invitation to experience Christmas through the lens of a remarkable man whose life was defined by resilience and grace. So, as always, light that fire. There it is. Grab that blanket and cup of hot cocoa and get ready for even more stories and songs for Christmas.
Let's do a little bit of Sally Gooden in the Year of A hymn.
Children, go where I send thee. How will I send thee? Oh, I'm gonna send thee one by one, 'cause the one was the little bitty baby born in Bethlehem. Children, go where I send thee. How will I send thee? Oh, I'm gonna send thee two by two, 'cause the two was the Paul and Silas. One was the little bitty baby born in Bethlehem. Children, go where I send thee. How will I send thee? Oh, I'm gonna send thee three by three, 'cause the three was the Hebrew children. Two was the Paul and Silas. One was the little bitty baby born in Bethlehem. Children, go where I send thee. How will I send thee? Oh, I'm gonna send thee four by four, 'cause the four was the four that stood at the door. Three was the Hebrew children. Two was the Paul and Silas. One was the little bitty baby born in Bethlehem. Ooh, 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 ooh. Children, go where I send thee. How will I send thee? Oh, I'm gonna send thee 10 by 10, 'cause the 10 was the 10 commandments. 9 was the 9 that stood in the line. 8 was the 8 that waited at the gate. 7 was the 7 that never got to heaven. 6 was the 6 that didn't get fixed. Oh, my Lord, to come back alive. 4 was the 4 that stood at the door. 3 was the Hebrew children. 2 was the Paul and Silas. 1 was the little bitty baby born in Bethlehem. In Bethlehem. children born in Bethlehem. A soft-serve Christmas. My grandpa, Red Lindsey, was known for three things by the folks in my hometown of Adel, Georgia. First, he was the best bluegrass fiddle player in Cook County, and pretty much any other county you could name in South Georgia, North Florida, and Southeast Alabama. Second, he could fix just about anything. From washing machines to record players to Monte Carlos. If it was broken, Red could fix it. These two qualities alone made him the stuff of legend. Just as legendary as the fiddle playing and handiness, however, was Red's ability to pinch a penny so tight you could see through it. Red had a personal vendetta against unwarranted spending, and he was a frugal warrior of the highest order. Waste was his mortal enemy, so he saved everything. Buckets of screws, nails, bolts, washers, and probably pencil shavings lined the walls of his fix-it shop. But like all great penny pinchers, Red had his weaknesses. For every $20 saved, there was a single, inexplicable splurge that rendered any credits to the family ledger meaningless. This is the story of one such splurge, a purchase so fantastical, so wildly unnecessary, that it is now family lore. This is the story of the soft-serve Christmas. As a warm-up to Red's soft-serve frugality, consider the holly-themed wrapping paper of my youth. Every family's got their holiday traditions, and ours came wrapped in the same Christmas wrapping paper from 1970 to the dawn of the new millennium. Green leaves, red berries, it was as familiar to the Lindseys as baby Jesus and Santa Claus. Red, or Pa, as us grandkids called him, had bought the roll at a clearance sale, where he was prone to stock up on anything oversized and underpriced. This particular roll of wrapping paper was roughly the size of a small cement mixer, and he was determined to get every last square inch out of it. We used that wrapping paper for every birthday, anniversary, graduation, and Christmas present any of us ever gave or received. I'm pretty sure that roll of wrapping paper still exists somewhere in the universe, like the mythical bow of Artemis, raining down unlimited holiday-wrapped presents on a pack of kids somewhere halfway around the world. You get the idea. One mid-December day, Pa came home from an auction, his eyes twinkling with the kind of mischief usually reserved for toddlers who've gotten into the cookie jar. He'd been to auctions before, sure, but this time he'd hit the jackpot. He sauntered up to the porch, puffed out his chest, and proudly patted a massive wooden crate that had been plunked down next to our porch with all the grace you'd imagine from a skid loader fitted with forks and ratchet straps. "We're in for a real treat this Christmas," he announced, as if delivering the news that we'd won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. Essie, my grandmother, stood there, arms crossed, squinting at that crate like it was a box of demons. When it came to Pa's schemes, Essie considered it wise to not ask a lot of questions. Pa took a crowbar to the crate, and with the flourish of a caped magician sawing a woman in half, revealed his latest investment, a towering, industrial-grade, soft-serve ice cream machine. It gleamed like Excalibur, with all that stainless steel and 3 shiny levers, one for vanilla, one for chocolate, and one in the middle for the perfect twist of both. This thing was not made for a modest family kitchen. It was made for royalty, namely, a Dairy Queen. "Isn't she a beauty?" Pa beamed. "All the ice cream we could ever want." Now, I'm a big fan of ice cream, but even as a kid, I knew this purchase was insane. The ice cream machine was massive, and it looked downright ridiculous crammed into our tiny kitchen where it hummed menacingly beside the spice rack. Our kitchen didn't even have a dishwasher. Red said we didn't need a dishwasher because we already had 3 dishwashers, referring to me and my 2 sisters. But apparently we did need restaurant-quality, soft-serve ice cream, like it was the 5th basic food group. The next morning, Pa got the machine up and running. He stood there like a mad scientist, fiddling with knobs and muttering instructions from the owner's manual like they held the secret to life itself. When the first creamy swirl of vanilla flowed from the nozzle, he grinned with the kind of glee you usually see on the faces of 6-year-olds unwrapping toys on Christmas morning. My sisters and I lined up for bowls of soft serve. Chocolate, vanilla, or the twist? Pa asked, like a carnival barker. We had to admit, the ice cream was good, real good. This machine seemed like a dream come true. For about a day. Less than 24 hours after delivery, the trouble started. The ice cream machine hummed, and I don't mean a quiet, lazy hum that you might nod off to. I mean, it sounded like a diesel engine revving every time someone flipped a wall switch. The whole house vibrated when you so much as turned on the television. And then there was the ice cream itself. As delightful as soft serve is, there's only so much of it you can eat. After a few days, we were ice creamed out. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner all came with a side of vanilla, chocolate, or the twist. Pa didn't care. He thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. "You'll thank me," he said, between spoonfuls of soft serve at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. But Essie, well, it seems she was plotting. You could see it in her eyes. The woman was nearly infinitely patient, but even she had her limits, and that soft serve machine was pushing hard and humming against every single one of them. Christmas Day came, and, as expected, the gifts were wrapped in the holly-themed paper that, like a holiday zombie, refused to die. The soft-serve machine whirred in the background as we opened presents. Pa insisted on using it for our Christmas desserts. Ice cream on pecan pie, ice cream on fruitcake, ice cream on ice cream. Essie's face was as cold as the desserts being pumped out in her shrunken kitchen. Then, one day, just after Christmas, it was gone. Just like that. Poof! No explanation, no ceremony, no frozen farewells. The soft-serve machine had disappeared. I checked the yard, Pa's shed, even the neighbor's house. It was nowhere to be found. And Pa? Well, he didn't say a word about it. He just went back to reading his newspaper as if the machine had never existed. But Essie? She knew. We all knew she knew. Somehow, some way, she had made the invading Dairy Queen vanish. The woman had a quiet power that was both awe-inspiring and slightly terrifying. Did she sell it? Dump it? Bury it in the backyard? To this day, no one knows, and none of us dared to ask. Needless to say, the holly-themed wrapping paper outlasted the soft-serve machine. But that Christmas has gone down in history. It was the year Pa's penny-pinching habits took a holiday, and we learned that there is such a thing as too much ice cream. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shining far through shadows dimmed, giving the light for those who long have gone, guiding the wise men on their way unto the place where Jesus lay. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawns. Give us a light to guide the way unto the land of perfect day. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star, the hope of rest for the redeemed, the sinners blessed. Yonder in glory when the crown is won. Jesus is now the star divine, brighter and brighter he will shine. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawns. Give us a light to guide the way unto the land of perfect day. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawns. Give us a light to guide the way unto the land of perfect day. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. The Fiddle and the Snow. Cold had come to Adel, Georgia, like an unexpected knock at the door. Not with the fury of a nor'easter by any means, but with the quiet insistence of someone who knows they'll be let in eventually. It wasn't the kind of cold that sent you running for shelter, but the kind that seeped into your bones when you weren't looking and weren't at all ready for it. The lights along 4th Street, Adel's main drag, flickered a soft and weary glow, half swallowed by an evening fog that lingered as a fading reminder of the comparative warmth that had existed hours before. Red Lindsey, James, if you were the postman or the IRS, walked slowly down the familiar streets, his breath puffed out before him in small clouds, curling and disappearing into the night. He didn't know why he still made these walks, why he let the night pull him into its deep silence every December, as though there was something waiting out there, just beyond the reach of the streetlights. Red's daughter, Martha, Mott, as they had called her, had been gone 8 years now, and he always found himself consumed with thoughts of her as the Christmas holiday approached. She'd loved the season. She'd written about winter as a teenager, a poem published in a high school literary collection. Happiness, she'd titled it. Red had it memorized. Snow comes in swirling drifts, as if the clouds and the angels were celebrating with confetti, and I, down here on earth, run and jump and laugh and catch a part of their celebration in my hair. 30 years old and gone in a flash, like a candle blown out by a chilly draft, much like this night's. 3 kids left behind, now raised by Red and Essie, though the house didn't feel any fuller for it. Mott's absence was a hollow in the walls, a space where something substantial used to be. Red walked past Buddy Martin's general store, the air crisp and clean, his hands buried deep in the pockets of his coat. And then a gleam caught his eye, something signaling to him, half hidden under the edge of a dumpster, like a shimmer of moonlight slipping beneath a cloud. He stopped, then knelt, and brushed the new frost from the dirt. It was a fiddle, or what was left of one. He recognized its potential in an instant because he played the fiddle. He was good, the best around. His playing was legendary. How had a fiddle, something once so beautiful, landed here at his footsteps and in this condition? The fiddle was splintered into dozens of pieces, almost beyond recognition. Had it not been for the mostly intact top piece with its F-holes and purfling, he might not have recognized it as a fiddle at all. The strings were loose and frayed, curling like dead vines on a forgotten trellis. Red ran his thumb over the jagged edges of what remained of the instrument, a strange pull tightening in his chest. The fiddle, maybe beyond repair, was beautiful even as a ruin. A delicate curve here, a smooth patch of shiny varnish there, evidence of a life it had once held, songs it had birthed. Red shrugged off his coat, spreading it on the frost-covered ground. Despite the stiffening cold, his fingers flew across the fiddle's scattered remnants. He gathered the pieces into his hands and arms, then, as if laying down a sacred relic, eased the splinters almost like a prayer onto his coat, swaddling them into the fabric. The neck, the busted chin rest, the delicate bridge, all of it. He wrapped the bundle against his chest, protecting it from the winter air. With his treasure secured, he rose to his feet. The wind bit at him, icy tendrils snaking through his thin shirt, but Red barely felt it. The cold seemed far away, as distant as the stars overhead. He held the package close to his chest, willing to keep the wood intact, to keep it from crumbling further. With one last glance at the mysterious altar-like corner where he'd found it, Red set off toward home. His breath came in quick bursts, the sharp air stinging his lungs, but his steps were steady, urged forward by something he couldn't name. The fiddle, the idea of what the discarded heap could be again, was all that mattered now. The streets stretched out before him, quiet and cold, the lights flickering like distant beacons, guiding him to his workshop, to the place where things were figured out, mended, made whole again. The shop was warm when he stepped inside. The old stove he'd left burning cast its heat into the corners of the room, the wood beams creaking as they shifted and adjusted to the unfamiliar cold. Red laid the broken fiddle out on his workbench, the smaller fragments scattering like leaves. The walls of the workshop were lined with tools. Files, planers, mallets, chisels, and saws hung neatly in their places. He had spent decades here, working with materials others had given up on, coaxing life back into worn-out keepsakes. He sat down and studied the fiddle under the soft light of an oil lamp. His fingers hovered over the abandoned wood, tracing the curves and lines, imagining what wholeness would look like. He had no reason to take this on. No one had asked him to fix it. But something about it called to him, like a whisper, like a promise he'd made and forgotten. He committed then and there to see this through. He'd either be party to a resurrection or play the part of a pallbearer and give this fiddle a proper burial. The thought of burial reminded him of Mott. She used to sing in this very shop as a girl, then a teenager, then as his lovely grown daughter, her voice rising above the steady rhythm of his tools, filling the space with life. Especially around Christmas, She sang those old carols with the kind of persistent hope that made you really pause, really listen, and recall the audacity of the Virgin Mary giving birth and a baby fending off the world's darkness. Red remembered the way her voice seemed to hang in the air long after she'd sung a final note, as though the walls had absorbed the sound and wouldn't let it go. Even now, 8 years later, he swore he could still hear her sometimes, her voice peaking, sometimes piercing through the silence. Red began to work, slowly and carefully fitting the pieces back together. The fiddle was worse off than he'd realized, considerably more broken than whole. He filed, sanded, glued, and braced, his hands moving with a craftsman's precision. Where the instrument's body held empty spaces, he measured and cut new pieces to fit, sometimes creating toothpick-sized splinters to fill in the gaps in this unexpected puzzle. Hours slipped by, the world outside his workshop fading further into the darkness, the frost creeping across the windows like delicate lace. He worked, and with every stroke, every careful touch, felt something stir in the air around him, something just out of reach, something waiting. By the time the first light of dawn touched the windows, the fiddle was mostly whole again, but not perfect. Scars remained, cracks too deep to fully heal. Red sat back, his hands resting in his lap, his breath slow and steady. He picked up one of his bows and drew it across the strings. Silence. A dull, hollow silence, like a pause between breaths. Red sighed, disappointed, setting the fiddle down gently, the way a father places his child in bed knowing neither of them will fall asleep anytime soon. He went back to the house, made and drank a pot of coffee, and went about his day pretending he'd slept, pushing the silent fiddle out of his mind. Days passed as the weight of a real winter, at least for Adele, pressed down, the sun rising and setting in its rhythm, casting long shadows across the frosted ground. The Christmas season arrived with all the usual festivities, family gatherings, decorations, TV specials with the grandchildren, shopping, and, of course, presents. Christmas Day's smiles and fanfare had turned into Christmas night. After supper, Red found himself drawn back to the shop, back to the fiddle. He lit the stove, the fire crackling to life, and sat down before his project. It glinted faintly in the firelight, the fiddle's scars softened by the glow. Red picked up his bow again, more out of habit than hope. He drew it across the strings, and this time, there was sound. A single note, thin and trembling, but alive. He tuned each string by ear, then played again, the sound surging, filling the room the way a newborn's wails finally emerge after the trauma of birth. The music poured out of him, and with it something else, a warmth, a presence. He closed his eyes and let the melodies carry him, the air around him heavy with the sound. Then he heard it. At first, it was so faint he thought it was the wind, a trick of the cold air swirling outside, drifting in through the shop's cracks and seams. But no, it wasn't the wind. It was a voice. It was her voice. Mott. Clear and strong, rising from somewhere he couldn't see, couldn't locate, but a voice he knew as well as he knew anything in the world he'd inhabited for his 59 years. She was singing. Silent night, holy night. The melody she'd loved, the one that made Christmas feel like it was stitched together with golden thread. Red's hand trembled on the bow, but he didn't stop playing. He couldn't. He feared that if he stopped playing, her voice would disappear. The music swelled around him, the sound of Mott's voice wrapping itself around the notes like a blanket, soft and warm. All is calm, all is bright. He played and she sang. For a moment, everything was whole again. Outside, snow began to fall. In Adel, Georgia, of all places, snow began to fall. It drifted down in soft flakes, covering the ground in a pale, radiant glow. A gift for him. When the last note faded, Red lowered the fiddle, his heart beating fast and slow at once. The shop was still, but the warmth lingered as though the walls themselves had been listening, emanating joy. Red stepped outside, the new snow crunching softly underfoot, each prismatic flake catching the light like a star falling from the heavens. "Merry Christmas, Mott," he whispered, his misty breath rising like incense. And if anyone had been passing by that night, they might have heard it too. A voice on the wind, faint and sweet, singing a song of holy celebration. They might have even caught a little of Mott's celebration in their hair. The first Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay. In fields where they lay keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. They looked up and saw a star shining in the east beyond them far. To look for a king was their intent, and to follow that star wherever it went. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. Now let us all with one accord sing praises to our heavenly Lord, who hath made heaven and earth of naught, and with his blood mankind hath bought. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. As we come to the end of even more stories and songs for Christmas, I want to thank you for listening, for spending this time with me, reflecting on the themes that make Christmas such a profound and sacred season. It's a rare gift this season to pause. Amidst the chaos of the season and of our own lives, it means the world to me that you would join me in considering the love, hope, joy, and enduring beauty of human connection. These are not just the themes of Christmas. They are the themes of life itself. The chance to explore them through music and stories, especially those inspired by my grandfather, Red Lindsey, has been an incredible privilege. I'm better off for having made it, and I hope you're better off for listening. Red's legacy as a musician and as a man who repaired broken things continues to deeply resonate with me. It's fitting that the 3 songs on this album reflect different shades of Christmas light. Children Go Where I Send Thee carries the rhythm of an unshakable faith, its infectious energy reminding us of the power of a simple, joyful message. Beautiful Star of Bethlehem serves as a guiding light for the weary, its melody lifting our spirits upward to something greater. And an a cappella, The First Noel, is an offering of plain gratitude for the gift of Christmas itself. At its core, Christmas is about hope. Hope in a promise fulfilled, hope in light breaking into darkness, hope in redemption that is both personal and communal. It is a hope that invites us not only to remember, but to create. To take your experience of Christmas a step further and gather your own stories and songs, or whatever art you create, and craft beauty that echoes far beyond this holiday season. My prayer for you is that this Christmas, you'll make memories that root you in all the joy of the moment and inspire you to create something meaningful, something lasting. Thank you for letting these songs and stories become part of your holiday. May this season bring you peace, light, and the courage to share your own art with the world. How about we close with a little more of Red Lindsey and the Pine Valley Boys? Merry Christmas.